We break down all that you need to know about mandatory minicamp next on the Unbearable Sports Podcast.
We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice long
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're out there on YouTube, and also rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. What's going on, Bears fans? Happy Sunday. Just recapping last week of mandatory minicamp, all the things that you need to know, some of the biggest takeaways from all of that. So last episode, we went through the first 2 weeks of the voluntary one, but then now we're just going to go through the main big pieces. And yet again, kind of taking different information from all sorts of different sources and bringing them all together just for you all. And also for those that are curious out there, no baby yet from my perspective, but we had a minor surprise today. We actually went into the doctors to see the baby was going to be delivered, but false alarm, but sometime this week. But don't worry, I'll still have you covered with some Bears coverage out there. So let's just get into this. Let's talk a little bit about our Chicago Bears and talk about this overall. Just overall, big takeaways from this week. And a lot of these have the same kind of it continues from the first 2 weeks into this week. Now, a couple pieces. First off, a lot of people, everyone was there. There was no shows, anything like that. The only times that people didn't show up, I think that it was 2 times, but it was just they were excused absences. They didn't want to go into why, but just 2 excused absences, right? That's fair. They probably had something going on, and so that's the reason why. Nothing headlining out there. Also, handful of players were also not fully healthy, so good amount just sitting on the sidelines, which I don't mind too much. Obviously, you want everybody to be out there. The list is really headlined by Luther Burden and Colson Loveland, 2-year rookies that you want to see out there. But we'll go through a little bit more why, you'd like to see them out there a little bit more, especially Colson Loveland, because the tight end position, very, very difficult to learn. You have to block, you have to catch, you have to do all sorts of things. It'd be awesome to see him out there, but this is kind of what you expected when you got him. Now, I know that there was rumors that, hey, maybe he can come out and he can play a little bit, but still there's contact. Just because there's no pads doesn't mean that there's no contact that's out there. But overall, the big takeaways, and Adam Hogue talked about this, Pat, the designer, Courtney Cronin, you name it. People are saying that this offense is progressing. That's exactly what you want to see. And that's where the first 2 weeks, and I said this in the recap, don't get too caught up with the defense doing really well or the offense committing penalties and making mistakes, because it was the first week, right? And now you're 2 weeks into it. You now have the full team there. You have the full veterans. And now people are like, yeah, the offense is progressing. This is what you want to see. And also Pat and Cronin also reported that Wednesday and Thursday, both being just days where they felt the offense beat the defense, which is actually crazy, because them saying that and saying, hey, this offense beat the defense for 2 consecutive days this week is actually very, very noteworthy, because the defense is usually ahead of the offense. Because, no offense to defensive players, it's easier to learn a new system in defense than it is on the offense. Because defense, you're talking about just coverages, and at the line, you're talking about certain assignments. It's a lot simpler than necessarily blocking arrangements and, shifting. We all know how difficult it is to play quarterback, knowing and memorizing route concepts, knowing where you're going to line up, other things like that. It's crazy. So for them, having the offense win right now and not even going into the true training camp, it's impressive. It's great that we're at least hearing that. And we're just hearing that Caleb progressing more and more and more as this time kind of continues, which yet again, great things, because before it was he's holding on to the ball very long. And that's probably my biggest concern with Caleb is we saw this a lot last year. He was kind of holding on to the ball a little bit too late. But still, it sounds like, yet again, Courtney Cronin reporting that, yeah, he was being a lot quicker and more decisive, finding open players. And you didn't see a lot of like quick, easy dump offs. It's him finding the players and getting the ball out. So stuff you love to see. And really, I'm just going to quote Pat, the designer, on this because from ESPN 1000, he said, really, who was the winner? It was just a win for the Bears. And that's kind of the general vibe that when I'm listening to all these other shows of people that are there, it just feels like, yet again, it's the impact of a good coach. Because for those that watched us, when we would watch the All 22, I would say time and time again, because people would want to know when we broke down the tape of the offense during the season, who's at fault, right? And everyone wanted one person. But for us, it was like anytime we'd watch it, it's like, yeah, there's plays that the offensive line breaks down. There's plays that Caleb's not great. There's plays that Rome's not great. And the wide receivers aren't open. And the coaching, the play call, everything was off. And this is what you expect. This is what a good coach does. He raises all that stuff up. So it's just all good thing. It's great things that you want to hear because this is what a good coach should feel like. And that's what it feels like coming out of these mini camps. The other piece too, not a lot of penalties this week, like not at all. And this comes off of the first 2 weeks. Yet again, a lot more penalties because it's a new system, because people have to learn, people have to understand. And now, very, very disciplined team this week. Now, obviously, we'll have to see what happens in training camp. But to me, this is how you train people. This is how you actually coach players to not commit penalties, by harping on them and getting on them. Now, yet again, you don't want to be too tough or anything like that, but you're just simply setting the standard. And anyone who's a manager or anybody that's been in a leadership position, they know that it's about setting the standard of what you expect out of someone. And whatever that standard is the quality of work that you're going to get out of those people. I've worked places where the standard is lowered. The standard is like, do what you will. And I've worked at places where the standard is significantly higher. And there's places too that I feel like I mentally will try and raise the bar and be like, how can we be better? And that's the thing with Ben Johnson, is that he consistently raises the bar. And that's the biggest thing. The other piece too is we have another week of OTAs. Some of the players will be there. I believe Rome is actually going to be there. A lot of times, younger players. I'll have you all covered on that. And also, I'll talk about one downside. Now, all this good stuff that we're talking about, there's still one kind of cloud looming over this, and one of those clouds is Caleb Williams' deep ball. Now, still, people were kind of reporting that if they had to say one big negative thing, the deep ball there's no connection. There's not a good connection there. Now, you can look at the stats. Caleb was awful at throwing the deep ball. And also, when we were watching the film, there was just many times I'm like, I don't know what that was. Now, it seems like that has continued here. So that is at least room for concern. After all the hype that we just talked about, that is something that we'll definitely be monitoring as we get into training camp to see, hey, what can they do to get this deep ball a little bit better? But also too, Ben Johnson releases 4 standouts, which we will be going throughout the other big pieces. So we have even more. We are just getting started with this show. So let's get into it. This is just bullet number 1. Let's get into the wide receivers. Now, the wide receivers, like we said, Luther Burden is currently out with an injury. But don't worry. People are reporting Olamide Zaccheaus looking very, very good, which, yet again, when the Bears got him, it's like, this is a good number 3. This is a good receiver. You don't expect him to be a number 1. You don't expect him to be a number 2. He's just that good number 3, number 4 type of player that you want to have out there. And even similar to like with Devin Duvernay, people kind of praising Duvernay. But Zaccheaus playing a lot of slot, very good connection. But also DJ Moore getting a lot of reps at that slot position too. Yet again, it's going to be interesting to see where they start playing some of these players. Like when Luther Burden comes back, is he more of an outside guy? Is DJ more of an outside guy? Rome, we know for a fact he's an outside guy. But that's just something for us to at least continue to monitor. But overall, Olamide Zaccheaus looking good as a number 3 wide receiver. We'll see what ends up happening with Luther Burden, and maybe that does kick Luther Burden to more of a punt return duty and kind of that more of like a specialized player, getting some screens, other things like that. But yet again, when the pads are on in training camp, he should be healthy for that. Now, also, Joel Wilson, standout tight end that Ben Johnson has kind of called out. He was signed by the Bears last season. Now, we'll see. We need tight end depth, so maybe in the preseason, he'll be one of our preseason people to watch out for. But I want to talk a little bit about DJ Moore. Now, last week we were talking about Rome Odunze having a good connection with Caleb. Seems like DJ getting the ball a lot more this week. Had a very good touchdown in traffic and basically a very, very well-placed ball by Caleb Williams. Right on the money to DJ. DJ makes a good catch. Caleb makes a good throw. You love to see it. But then also, too, Ben Johnson. DJ Moore reported that Ben Johnson actually got on him about him showing a little bit of attitude. Not attitude, that's kind of the bad way to say it, but how they're kind of trying to get people on with body language. Sounds like Ben Johnson, or from what DJ reported, that basically Ben Johnson said, hey, you got to drop that attitude, and he dropped the attitude. So he said, like, yeah, he doesn't want Ben to come down on him again, so ends up trying to fix his attitude. Now, that is something that we've all of us Bears fans want DJ to at least drop. Then last little bit on DJ, I'm saying just, yeah, the ultimate standard, trying to be held to perfection from Ben Johnson. Yet again, it all kind of goes down to this. Hopefully, we're able to win some games early so that they show like, hey, this is what happens when you put the effort in. You put the effort in, you're going to get rewarded. You're going to get some wins because it's very, very abundantly clear that they just simply were not held to a good standard. So let's talk about the next topic. So the next topic that I want us to go through, because as we're talking about wide receivers, we have to talk about what they were doing with the big guys. The big guys, the quarterbacks. So the quarterbacks were playing wide receivers on the last day. And see, this is the thing I love. You have Ben Johnson, someone who is coming down on all these coming down on the players. He's setting the standard. He's really kind of harping on them, right? But now you have a fun practice. Last practice of mandatory minicamp was them just kind of having fun. Quarterbacks catching passes from wide receivers. And I think it was Olamide Zaccheaus that threw the pass to Caleb Williams. Beautiful on the money. Honestly, one of the best deep balls that we saw the team post. And also, I do not have any videos this week for those out there on YouTube, just because the NFL dinged me on YouTube just because of the videos that I was using. So no videos this week. You can thank the Shield for that. But really, with just, it was nice seeing them kind of practice this, but also too, we know Ben Johnson likes to have fun plays out there. So to me, this seemed more like an audition, seeing, okay, who can throw, who can catch, but also they had this with the linemen. And you saw Darnell Wright, one hand Odell Beckham-esque type of a grab, but then you see these other linemen. And I got to say, Newman did not look like he belonged on a NFL football field. The rookie out of Michigan State. I just gonna throw that out there right now. When you saw him run, just stubby, did not fit the part. Now, yet again, he's not a wide receiver. He's an offensive lineman. But still, it's one of those when you see him, you're like, that guy's an NFL player. He looks short. He looks small. So we'll see. We'll see how he actually blocks when pads are on and preseason's out there. But yeah, just not a good look. But really, it was fun, though, seeing the offensive linemen play. And yet again, Dan Skipper, someone that they had catch a lot of passes. Maybe Ozzie Trapillo is that guy. But speaking of Ozzie, the left tackle battle still rages on. And I want to talk about something that Ben Johnson stated about the left tackle position. Now, something that I've said multiple times on this show is that this line is built to run the football. Drew Dahlman, run blocking center. And then Joe Thuney, master of all trades. But then Jonah Jackson, more of a run blocking center. So then the left tackle, Braxton Jones, more of a run blocker. So I've said before that, hey, if he's more of a run blocker, then yeah, he probably wants that guy to establish the run. Now, something that Ben Johnson said is that one of the most important part that he's looking for out of his left tackle, and quite frankly, then he doubles down and says the entire offensive line, is pass blocking. Now, do I believe him about every single player in the offensive line? No, just because it seemed like he kind of added that in at the very, very end. Obviously, it's super, super important. But I want to just go to what he said about the left tackle, because he specifically called out pass blocking for the left tackle. And the reason why that's so important is because we know what Braxton Jones has done as a pass blocker. He gets pushed back. He gets pushed straight back into the quarterback. That I really like his run blocking. And his pass blocking, Ben Johnson has also stated the same thing. He's got to get bigger in his lower half. He has to be able to anchor against a bull rush. Because, quite frankly, that's the thing that he just simply cannot do, is he's just awful at that one piece. If he fixes that, think about how good of a left tackle he could potentially be if he's able to anchor well against bull rushes. It is something that has plagued him throughout his 3 years here. And quite frankly, that makes it feel a little bit better with like an Ozzie. Maybe Ozzie's more up their system. Now, yet again, I still get nervous about a rookie starting at left tackle. I would love him to be amazing. I'd love him to be great. Obviously, that's the way that we want every single draft pick that we have. Just the likelihood of a rookie that was drafted in the late second round, projected to go in the third, that's asking a lot of him. So if he's able to live up to it, hot dog. Awesome, right? He's very disciplined. We said high floor type of a player. So to me, it's at least a good feeling, though, knowing that people talking about Ozzie, he looks the part. He looks good. He looks like he is an NFL player. Now, Karan Amagaji, who has played left tackle, everything that we were hearing was he's not looking athletic, which is one of his big calling cards. But this week looked a little bit better. People saying that he's progressing along, which is good to see at least. So obviously, still waiting for the pads to come on, especially when we're evaluating tackle prospects. But at least nice to hear Karan not looking as clumsy as he was getting reported on the first 2 weeks of OTAs. So now, let's get into the guy that everybody wants to talk about. Let's talk about the fun guy, Monangai. Kyle Monangai, the running back out of Rutgers. Now, this was another one of the standouts that Ben Johnson talked about. Now, here's the thing. We know I love Roschon Johnson. Most of us love Roschon Johnson because he absolutely dominates the person in front of him. He can pass block. He can do it all. And then you have Kyle Monangai, someone who does a similar style, but the biggest thing is he doesn't have the big stature as, say, a Roschon Johnson has. The thing, too, that we came across when we all, bunch of us fans, we watched the All-22 together of Kyle Monangai. The thing that was the biggest surprise for me was just the vision that he has, just being able to find holes, and he has phenomenal vision. And that is the biggest takeaway, is that is something that Swift has struggled with. And with Monangai, he's going to just give you the yards that you need, and he's going to give you extra ones with just the extra fighting. They want someone that can run this system. And yet again, not saying he's going to take DeAndre Swift's job, but it's going to be a battle with him and Roschon Johnson for kind of that RB2 role. Now, I think that this is also a very big thing that kind of pushes this piece that the Bears might not actually get a new running back. And this is something that I feel on board with, just because, if J.K. Dobbins is the best running back that's on the market, you don't feel great about that. Right? How much does he give you more than, say, a DeAndre Swift? I'm not a big DeAndre Swift fan, but Swift is better than J.K. Dobbins. And I'd rather see one of your young running backs like Monangai or a Roschon Johnson than someone that you just have a 1-year flyer on. That's where, to me, the running back addition just never really made much sense, unless they really felt like, hey, unless they're getting rid of DeAndre Swift, which yet again, I don't think they are. They aren't going to. The only way they can do that logically is to actually trade Swift, which I just don't really think that there's going to be many takers for Swift. But overall, Monangai is just turning heads. He just looks good. And like we've said about this guy, like I gave it an A+ when they drafted him. I really, really like Monangai. Very good running back, runs violent. Just wait till the pads are on. If he's already rising right now, just wait till the pads are on, man. He's going to be fun. But let's keep on going. And if you're watching out there, for just a quick little reminder for everybody watching the show out there on YouTube, just hit the like button. Helps out the show tremendously. Feel free to leave a comment too. Who are you most excited about seeing out there? So now we got 3 little subjects left. I got to talk about the defensive line because I feel like I might have said this, but I'm going to say this again. So Gervon Dexter, he has actually confirmed he is bigger and heavier than he was before. And he looks huge. And it was funny because, 3 weeks ago, people were like, oh, he looks skinny. He's going to be a defensive end. And like what I said on the show, he's not going to be a defensive end. And he got bigger. He confirmed it. He actually gained more weight and now is playing the one tech, which to me is phenomenal. And for those that don't know, the one technique defensive tackle, think of that like your Spice Adams to your Tommy Harris. Your Tommy Harris is your 3 technique, lines up basically against the guard, while your one tech, your Anthony Spice Adams, and now your Gervon Dexter is going to try and take on those 2 guys on the front line. Now, Gervon Dexter, him and Grady Jarrett are getting snaps at the ones, with the ones, while Andrew Billings going back to the second team, which honestly kind of expected. But this is the thing why do I like this? Because to me, Gervon Dexter, he is a more natural one tech, and I said this when they drafted him. I've always been surprised that they've been putting him at 3 technique because Gervon Dexter has superhuman strength. That's the thing that shined when he was at Florida. Just this very, very strong guy. And to me, it's like use his strength to his ability. It wasn't his quickness. It was his strength that was his biggest ability. And to me, him being a one tech, taking on the guard in the center, trying to absorb people, I feel like that's going to be a more natural fit for him. Also, when you look at Dennis Allen, what he wants out of defensive tackles, his 3 techniques, he likes them lighter. He likes them quicker, which to me is why they bring in a Grady Jarrett, why they bring in a Shamar Turner. And that's why you kind of envision that the second tier of this defensive tackle group is going to be Andrew Billings at the 1 tech, and then you have Shamar Turner as the 3 tech. So for me, I really like this. And quite frankly, I like that he's learning alongside of Grady Jarrett, who we've already seen is a phenomenal leader that's out there too. So I really like it. Love the move with Gervon Dexter. We'll also see what happens with Zach Pickens just because he's kind of the 5th man out there. My guess, probably going to stay at the 1 tech. I've always felt like he's actually more of a 3 tech just because of his quickness, his speed. That's more of what you wanted to get. But hey, Matt Eberflus thought the opposite. So I like at least this move with Dennis Allen of making Dex be more of a nose tackle. Some people call it nose tackle, the 1 technique, so that he can kind of take on multiple blocks. Now, nose tackle, just for the coaches out there, I know it's 0 tech is usually what they go up against the center. So, also another defensive line update, Dominique Robinson as listed as one of Ben Johnson's standouts. Now, getting some runs with the ones with Dayo Adengbo, kind of getting some backups, getting some backup snaps, and just generally people were saying just impressive size, speed combo, and as Ben Johnson said, he's also someone that can contribute on special teams. Now, the big thing with Dominique Robinson, and I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit on this because I already know that there's probably some shows out there that are like, Dominique Robinson, inbound, rebound season. He just needed a new defensive coordinator, right? Dominique Robinson, this is where I want to just pump the brakes because there's no pads. So when there's no pads, people that are fast and quick, those are the players at the defensive end spots that are going to probably look a little bit better because they can just run around you. They can run super, super fast. That's what Dominique Robinson has always been able to do. He is a very, very good athlete. So I'm not taking anything away, not trying to remove anything from him, but something just wait till the pads are on. That's going to be my big indication, especially when you're talking about defensive ends because speed wins when there's no pads out there. And last little bit from the backup quarterbacks, I just want to put a bow on this whole conversation. Now, backup quarterbacks, I've heard other shows talk about this as a competition. And I want to just make something clear, right? The competition is not of who's going to stay on the Bears roster. It does, I would be shocked, absolutely shocked. I would be flabbergasted if they got rid of Tyson Bagent. Because right now, it's Case Keenum and Caleb Williams right now are like best of buddies. People are saying that, man, when Caleb catches the pass and then Case Keenum caught a pass, they were just like celebrating together. They seem super close. And also, it seems like Case is really kind of taking Caleb under his wing. That's awesome. That is exactly what you want to see. You don't just have this young quarterback group that, yeah, it's fun. You need people to kind of take accountability, and it's a job. You need them to do their work. And quite frankly, last year, they weren't doing good work. But with Tyson, everything that I've heard is that they like Tyson Bagent. So why did they get rid of him? Also, Tyson Bagent's going to be a restricted free agent, not unrestricted, at the end of this season. So to me, Tyson's going to be your backup. Or he's going to be on the roster. In Case Keenum, probably more of a practice squad player. Then what do you do with Reed? I don't know. You can put him on the practice squad if you really want to, but why would you want to have 4 quarterbacks? Because it seems like you have someone like a Case Keenum that looks really good, plays really well too. So you might want to add Reed if you just like him in the room, and if he's helping out Caleb, then awesome. But I really do think, just projecting out to the 53, Keenum's going to be on the practice squad, or maybe even on the active roster, but probably practice squad. Bagent's going to be your backup quarterback. And yeah, they're going to go with that. So it just feels that way. And then if there was an injury, then yes, they would elevate them, and then they would have to duke it out. But it just feels like it's going to be that way. So I don't think it's really a battle or anybody going to lose their job. They like both of the backups. So I just want to bring that up there. But last but not least, linebackers, and the last highlighted player by Ben Johnson, Ruben Hippolyte. That's right. It's Hippolyte season. Listed as a standout. And the thing that he talked about was he's just taking it seriously. And it's interesting that he said those specific words, saying that Ruben Hippolyte is really taking this linebacker position seriously. And also too, right, we have Noah Sewell, who's pictured up here. Noah Sewell was someone that's been with the Bears. This is now his 3rd season. And with him being on the Bears for now his 3rd season, and this was his job. And then what happened is TJ Edwards was not out there for one of the days. Who got the starting snaps at weak side linebacker? Ruben Hippolyte, which is typically what you see out of your number 3 linebacker, who is your Sam, and then moving over. Now, yet again, they do like to play different combinations. Maybe they want to see him as a weak side linebacker. Like I've said before, I like him as a weak side linebacker just because of the speed. You can kind of free him up with some of those plays. I kind of like him at the position, rather than just like the Sam linebacker, that number 3 linebacker. That's my feeling with Ruben Hippolyte. But overall, people saying that, hey, there's multiple reports saying him in pass coverage, that is something you can kind of like grade out there, was looking pretty good. You saw the natural speed out there, going sideline to sideline. Seemed like he struggled at the very beginning of camp, or OTAs, and just progressing. So nice to see out of a young, seemingly raw type of a player out there with Ruben Hippolyte. But yeah, it's Hippolyte season, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're excited for Hippolyte season, make sure to hit the like button out there. Hit the subscribe button too if you're still watching out there on YouTube. Also, you can also click the link down below, open up the podcast, download it, just search for Unbearable Sports everywhere that you get your podcast, and rating the show 5 stars is a great way to just help support the show. I definitely really appreciate it out there. But like I said before, I'll have you all covered with all sorts of Bears content. So make sure to stay tuned. So with that, hope you all have a fantastic week. And Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair and you know